nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, let's see, can we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda, June 3rd? That's to approve tonight. Second. All in favor? Aye, unanimous. And can we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 13th?
Motion to approve the minutes from May 13th.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous vote again. Excellent. All right, school committee chairperson comments. Just me, real quick. I'll just say, I don't think there's probably anybody here, but congratulations to our Nipmuc seniors who graduated last Saturday, and wish everybody well. So I'm sure they all went fast, and everybody's excited for the next step. So congratulations to the class of 2024.
On to the class of 2025.
Moving on up. You know, the upperclassmen.
The gas.
Yeah, let's go. Excellent. All right. Do we have any community comments tonight in the room? See any? Sam, any community comments online? Any hands? No hand raised? All righty. I'll get to you next. Let's do student comments. All right, I'll move on to student comments.
So last week we had the civic symposium for the high school with the US2 classes. And we saw there's so many cool projects of people showing how they can impact their communities. And I know I saw you walking around, and I want to ask, like, did you see anything that really sparked your interest?
Good. It's actually in my notes. I'll follow up after, but some were amazing, absolutely amazing. Yes.
And just next Monday, we're going to have Inspired Learning Day for the high school and for the school as well, where we're going to do just a bunch of activities. We're going to go all across the state. Basically, we have people going to Boston for math. We have people staying at Nipmuc just to basically learn in a new way, fun way, and see what they can find out.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. All right. Okay. No worries. No worries. All right. All right, Helen, I'll hand it over to you to kick us off on the new business.
All
That
right,
works.
I can
Oh,
get started.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn over to Matt real quick. I apologize.
Got it all.
At the
Yeah.
top of the meeting, so tonight on the agenda, we will be discussing and voting on the collective bargaining results with the teachers union. My wife is a teacher at Memorial Elementary School, and that constitutes a conflict of interest on my part. Massachusetts law requires that I disclose this interest and assure you that as I have been doing throughout the bargaining this year, I will not be participating, and I will be taking that vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Sorry about that.
All good. And so we have our Golden Apple Award recognition now, and we should probably recognize our staff more often. This is the most full I think we've had in here in a long time. So we have a packed house, which is awesome. And what I'm going to do is hand it over to Matt, who has the descriptions for the 3 recipients, and then he'll read a little bit of the background about each recipient, and then we'll have you come up, and Eric's going to be awarding you the Golden Apple and the certificate, and we'll of course take the celebratory pictures as well at that point.
So I'd like to start by first thanking the MURSD community for participation in the Golden Apple Award again this year. We had more than 90 separate nominations, which I think may be a record, at least as far back as I can find the records that we have available to me as a 3-year member of the committee. With so many nominations, we had a great time as always reading about the positive experiences our students have had with their teachers. And it once again reminded me how lucky we are as a district to have so many caring and dedicated educators working in our schools. As always, it was hard to narrow the list down. So before we get to tonight's honorees, I just like to say a heartfelt thank you to all the staff in the district. You make our schools great, and we appreciate your hard work. But without further ado, our first recipient tonight is a kindergarten teacher who received more nominations than I've ever seen a single teacher receive in a single school year. Beyond the quantity of her nominations was how they overflowed with praise for her vibrant energy, her nurturing spirit, and her creative approach to teaching Spanish immersion. Parents praised her ability to help the class transition to elementary school and to learn classroom manners and routines, and to do all that while teaching them in a language that most of them, at least at the start of the school year. They appreciate her one-on-one work with students, providing accommodations for students struggling, as well as enriching opportunities for class. And they wrote highly about how she takes the time to ensure that parents are informed, engaged, kept up to speed. It's my honor to award tonight's first Golden Apple to Senora Macarena.
Yeah.
My bad.
There you go.
Thank you.
Certificate.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, here, sorry. Here, it's fine. Yeah.
My God, there is no words. Thank you so much. I am the one that is more than happy to work in this school district. I am delighted and being here with all my family. It couldn't be better. So thank you for all you do because we feel all of your love, in fact. So we are the ones that appreciate everything. So thank you.
Yeah.
Our next recipient is also a world language teacher who goes above and beyond for her students. Her nomination spoke of a welcoming, warm, and inclusive educator, mentor, and advocate who opens her classroom before, during, and after school to her students, especially those who are still learning the English language. When she is away volunteering to chaperone on one of the many trips that she helps out on, not just her own, it is obvious to her colleagues how much those students miss her. If her contributions within the school building weren't enough, she's also responsible for the annual Spanish exchange program, working tirelessly to organize this program every year, ensuring that the visiting students are welcomed and well taken care of, and chaperoning our students on their visit to Spain. One year, Vicky shared a story about how she both hurt her knee badly enough to need a wheelchair and lost her passport in Spain, causing significant delays on the way home. And when she did finally manage to make her way home, when was asked about it, she shared that she was only glad that it happened to her and not would have hated to have seen it happen to one of her students. She hasn't lost one yet. It's my honor to award tonight's second Golden Apple to Senora Ana Soto.
There we go. Congratulations.
Smile here.
All right. Great, thank you so much.
Well, this was unexpected. Thank you, I'm honored, but I'm especially grateful for my superintendent. She told me to say that. Also, since tonight I'm asking for permission to take the kids to Spain again, so I lost the passport. Looking like that. Thank you so much.
And then our final recipient tonight, last but definitely not least, is a middle school teacher who does a bit of everything. She's a classroom teacher who brings out the best in her students, and one of her colleagues observes that even students who sometimes struggle behaviorally thrive in her class. Her robotics and amusement park project is a biannual highlight for the school. Her contributions to the district extend well beyond the classroom. She's been an exemplary project lead the way teacher, running multiple units a year, and she brings students to the 1-8 Foundation Showcase to show off their projects, as well as a robotics symposium to test their robotics and coding skills. She's also a model of inclusivity, running the unified basketball team at the middle school. One parent noted that my child is not a typical athlete. Through the efforts of Ms. Kaler and the Unified Helpers, she has thrived and become a valuable member of the team. She lifts their confidence and motivates the students to become something that they never once thought was achievable. My honor to award tonight's third Golden Apple to Brittany.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, picture real quick. Excellent, thank you.
I also want to thank Maureen. But honestly, I love my students, I love my colleagues, I love this district, so I'm very, very grateful to work here. I'm grateful for this award, so thank you so much. Picture with all of them.
Absolutely.
Do you mind if we do one more picture with the three of you? All right.
You want to get a picture too, since you're.
I have money.
Yeah, I will. ¿Qué llevas ahí?
Me ha traído mis amigas una pancarta, ¿no?
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep on going, that'd be
All
great. Thank you.
right, this is really long, what I'm gonna read, so I'm gonna ask, Jim, do you mind coming and sitting up here?
Sure.
I really would like.
You're not in trouble.
Yes.
I always like you to be right here when I do this. All right, so we have Mr. Jim Gorman, who is our Nitmook science teacher and department chair, who was named the Massachusetts STEM Teacher of the Year. And what I'm going to do, because there were so many good quotes that were in the press release, I'm just going to read through them all because you have lots of really well-known people saying amazing things about you. So I think we should all hear it together, if that's okay. So the Patriots Hall of Fame announced our very own Jim Gorman as the Massachusetts STEM Teacher of the Year. The announcement was made by Robert Kraft. As this year's recipient of the honor, Nitmook Region will receive $5,000 from the Patriots Foundation in his name to be used for STEM education. Jim will also be appointed to Governor Maura Healey's STEM Advisory Council, chaired by Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll. First quote. This teacher approaches STEM teaching with curiosity, discovery, and a commitment to using the power of personalized learning to unlock the potential of his students. As a former special education student who became an AP physics teacher, his story is an inspiration to his students, said Kraft. Congratulations, James. Thank you for your investment in your students. It will continue to pay dividends for years to come. Next, we have Governor Maura Healey. Massachusetts is a leader in education, and teachers like Mr. Gorman are critical to our ability to continue providing the best opportunities in STEM for our students. In our state, we want to open doors for our young people, especially to STEM pathways, which is why we are so appreciative of Mr. Gorman for all the work he does to support and guide our students in and out of the classroom. Next up, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll. STEM industries are growing across the nation, including in Massachusetts. Teachers like Mr. Gorman play a critical role in helping our students see themselves in STEM careers, growing our workforce pipelines, and driving our competitiveness forward. We are so grateful to science, technology, and math teachers like Mr. Gorman, who help cultivate enriching environments for our students to pursue a future in the STEM fields. And finally, we have Education Secretary Dr. Patrick Tutwiler. We want to empower all Massachusetts students to realize their dreams, and Mr. Gorman does just that in his science classes. As a former educator, I know firsthand the commitment and care that it takes to provide quality learning environments. Congratulations to Mr. Gorman on his success, leadership, and dedication that resulted in being recognized as our STEM Teacher of the Year. You are changing students' lives and shaping our future. I'm getting teary as I read that. It is true. And we know, and I should add a little quote in there myself from Superintendent Cohen, but we see Jim before us all of the time with the amazing opportunities he provides students. Nina's been one of those students, right? You know, we have lots of students that are impacted by your work every day, and you have pushed us to be more innovative, to be more authentic in our experiences, and every day you come with a new idea, that's amazing, that we have the AI, the chat thing with horses, I can't even describe it, it's amazing that you did, so, every day we have something new, and we're just really fortunate to have you here. So if we could give a little round of applause for him. For you here on behalf of the school committee. Picture.
Yeah, congratulations. Excellent. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
I just want to thank the school committee, administration, John and Mary Ann, my department. I mean, you guys are awesome. Everybody in this district, it's a team effort. I mean, I got the award, but it's really a testament to this district and how they let teachers lead innovative things and take kids all over. I mean, we've been in my first year, right? We went to Finland. It's just been an amazing journey. So thank you very much, and I hope to keep continuing rolling. Hope to see another guest soon.
So we got a couple out-of-state field trips up next.
So the first one is the Inspired Learning Day field trip to Advanced Solutions in Manchester, New Hampshire. Come back up, sorry. I would have had to stay there.
Just-
So following that little discussion, so Mrs. Nieves teaches anatomy, and this year she teamed up with Advanced Solutions up in Manchester, New Hampshire. And they want to do some collaborative, but they couldn't fit it in exactly how they wanted it. So she piloted here this year with her students. And what Advanced Solution does is they're pretty much a think tank / huge lab with tons of funding for bioprinting, tissues, body parts. We could go to smaller labs like MIT and that and just see a little bit, but we go there, we can see so many amazing equipment and really inspire the kids. So she set this trip up to go to Manchester, New Hampshire to Advanced Solutions on June 10th, ILD Day. We'll travel by Knight's Limousine, a minivan they'll take us and return us back within the school day. So be a nice 3-hour tour there along with another company they added on as well. So if you have questions or
3-hour tour.
3 hours. Doesn't sound so good that way.
Other questions? All right, we have a motion to approve the June 10th trip to Advanced Solutions in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Motion to approve the June 10th trip to New Stations in New Hampshire.
All right, Advanced Solutions.
Advanced Solutions.
Yes.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Look
again.
forward to hearing about it. We have one more, the Spanish exchange program.
Gonna do my best to be serious. So I am requesting permission to take the kids to Spain once again. This time I promise not to lose my passport or to tear my meniscus. So the plan for the trip is 16 days, 16 days. We are going to fly from Boston to Madrid, where we're gonna spend 2 days touring, and then from there to Segovia. Then in Leon, where the kids are going to take part of the exchange, and they're gonna live with their host families for 9 days, and then from there to Bilbao and Madrid and back home. Our Our school partner, they're coming in September, so their dates are from September 16 to September 30th.
Any changes from the itinerary and the accommodations, all that set up from last year?
No, it's exactly the same. Do you mean in Spain or for
In
us?
Spain.
It's exactly the same schedule that we had before, yes.
Do you know how many kids roughly, do you have a sense of how many have expressed interest?
Right now, I have 10 kids sign up, just to say that they have interest. We are scheduling the preliminary meeting the 18th. And from there, we'll see how many kids we have. They right now have 17 kids coming.
So lining up with families is gonna be rougher this year than it was.
No, actually easier. Last year we had 27.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Before, the week before they came, I still needed four houses, so it wasn't stressful at all.
Any other questions? Discussion? Okay. All right.
Motion to approve the exchange program trip for the Spanish immersion kids.
Okay, all right,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great, we're approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think the last new business we have is Cisco Hill Athletics fees, Scott Glassman.
You guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
Very good. So, I'm here basically propose a couple of things. I'll bring you through the slideshow, show you a little bit of history of our program, and show you where we started, how we added, and where we are now these days. So currently, we started in 2007, the self-funded program. With the current sports, then in 2015, 16, 17, we added 3 additional sports. Right, so we're one of the few middle schools with this amount of sports. So they talk like Hopkins and so the other Northbridge are kind of similar. That Northbridge not even Hopkins is, I guess, most similar. They have a couple other sports, like football and some stuff, but as for a lot of sports for our middle school, we are up there. This, you can kind of see our numbers in sports this year, and you'll see the numbers that we've had in sports in years past. You know, after COVID, there's a big, drop as in a lot of things. So these are our numbers. Cross country is a big one. That it's starting to climb, and same with track and field, it's also starting to climb back up. I don't know how much it's starting to climb, but it's better than what it was. All right. And as we go on, you can see our numbers. This is back from 2016. This is after we added sports, and they were on a steady rise until COVID happened, and it was a huge drop. In being a self-funded program, where all of our funds are coming from fees and fundraisers. It really put a dent in our program over time. And we're starting to see the effects of the lack of funding with our program. Oh, we're good. So I just did a little, history of our fees. We started out at 140. And we made ourselves up to 200. We used to have caps. But after the COVID, the caps, we just took them off. Obviously, we offer assistance to people that need help. There are scholarships out there. And there are also the free and reduced lunch. But we try to get everybody involved. We would like to reinstate the cap.
Is the cap per family or per child?
Per family. Per family. You know, some kids have 2 to 3 families that are playing sports, so it's tough. So it's basically, it was 3.5. 3.5 fees. Yeah. Fundraising, it's not all up here. This is just some of the stuff we did that were really big. The biggest thing was cookie dough and my fall fundraiser. You can see the drop. And it's gone down the last few years. And people just rather give the money than, you know, everybody's trying to do something now. And it's just getting harder and harder to do fundraisers. We used to do a lot of other fundraisers, which I'm hoping to get back to, some community things, dodgeball, just with all the kids and stuff. They're not big fundraisers, they're small, they're a couple $1,000s, which help out here and there. But just you kind of see the decline. It's getting tougher. This is, I just did a little mock-up of what the different fees are and based on our expenditure from this year. And what we have to cover. You know, you can see it for yourself, where if you go from 200 to 275, what is covered, and then what we have to fundraise for. Without, you know, like I said, and Jay did graciously give us $10,000, which we've been kind of the last 5 or 6 years, Jay? 5 or 6 years? Yeah,
it's been about 5, 6.
about 5 years, so we've had $10,000 for transportation. That's a whole other subject, which I won't get into right now. But transportation costs way more than $10,000. We're talking $20,000 to $30,000. Go ahead. So proposal, increase fees and or add more funding to the budget to make up that difference, to make up that gap. So we're figuring maybe around 10,000 to at least cover that gap. That's also without transportation. But that just covers basic operation. As of now, you know, we are carpooling our kids at the middle school to the different events. All right, that's not just because of the funding, it's also because lack of bus drivers. And then long term, you know, basically, you know, short term, we're always replacing uniforms, which I haven't replaced in a while. We still have stuff that says Braves on it, which we need to get rid of. You know, the short terms are like volleyball uniforms, baseball and softball uniforms. Those are my top priorities. Eventually want to be able to cycle them every 5 to 7 years. My baseball uniforms are probably, I want to say, I talked to one of my former students, she's 27 or 28, 26, and she designed them. And was to use it. They're good quality. You know, I think it's time to get some new ones. Again, transportation, we'd like to see that change over time. To hopefully get fully funded and to be able to take buses full time. A great thing was the use of the vans this year, which helped out with our transportation for our winter teams. Saved a little bit of money for our program. And then again, you know, field and equipment. Stuff's gonna have to get replaced. We've been lucky to work with some of the youth groups for our field hockey nets. And help out with some of the funding with the paint lining stuff. That's because I line their fields for them too, so. Helps out. But, you know, long term, we're gonna need new goals, new paint liners, so forth. Overall, you know, the basic thing is sports helps retain kids in the school system. Our middle school is a huge feeder program for the high school. We're starting to have joint meetings. So the middle school kids can now see the high school kids, and we're hoping that retains kids from going to other schools. So I'm asking for increase of fees if not add to our operation budget. I think it'll help everybody in the long run. Definitely these kids deserve it. to have something for them to do at the school. So. You guys have anything to add or?
So just to give background of the timing, and so when Scott was looking ahead to next year and looking at where we're ending up at the end of this year, he came forward asking, for the fee increase, and we put it on the agenda as we were meeting with them. I thought it would be good to come here and have a little bit of a conversation about it, because certainly I don't want to be increasing fees for families, right? I'm sure no one in the room wants to do that. And so, what is the trade-off of increasing fees or the trade-off of starting to put a little bit more funding operationally into supporting this? And I thought it's something we hadn't brought forward earlier, but now we kind of know where we are at the budget, and something that we could, talk about that here.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that we're running a fairly expansive program at the middle school. It's very beneficial for everybody involved, and we don't fund it except for a small amount that was supposed to be for transportation. We have split that, so we use some for supplies now, some for transportation, but it's only $10,000. It's not a lot for the size of the program that we're trying to run. Were we to increase the fees to, like, say, $275, that might cover it, but that's a huge increase in fees when you're at 200. So at this point, now that we kind of things have settled in with our budget, I would probably recommend that we try to maybe make a small adjustment in the fees, but also add some funds within the budget and start to look, just try to fund this within the operational budget, at least to some extent. The transportation piece is expensive, but we can't get buses right now. But we're hoping to get a second van, which will help out them, will help out the high school. It's already helped quite a bit. But if we were to take that 10,000 and put it up to, say, 25,000 or something like that, which is another $15,000 in the big scheme of things, that's not a lot of money that really would help the program as far as moving forward. And then we can plan for the future to start to grow them. So I think that's the direction we should probably think.
So within this, the expenditure minus revenue line in the chart, you kind of slide 7, looks like your totals are totaling up to $59,500.
It's about right.
Yeah, so
That's this year.
is that
That's
what the average cost currently?
About-
or-
Yeah, it's about for average. I bought some uniforms this year, which I'm gonna have to do next year, and the year after.
Then the transportation was like a majority of that, or
No.
a large portion of it?
I don't think that.
Oh, wait,
Really,
I
any.
thought 20,000.
Well, we budgeted it, but he can't get buses. So
I'm
he's probably
sorry.
used like 6 buses. Quite honestly, I'm having a little issue with the billing.
Yeah.
So far I haven't yet.
So the only season that I can do transportation and usually is winter because it's not a lot of sports. So there's more bus drivers. Otherwise, it's like special events, like they get to a state meet or something like that. So once in a while, people have bus. Otherwise, every season is carpool.
Have we tried looking at grants for anything? Are there any grants out there that might be?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything else that'll just fund an athletic program. It could be, I don't know. I haven't seen it. Most of the grants, they want to target curriculum and instruction.
I know that in past years, our goal was always to reduce the fees over time and see if that was something we'd be able to do to alleviate the burden that is on families. I know we haven't done that, and I know with COVID in the last number of years, we had a drop off in participation. It's coming back a little bit, which is great, but not necessarily to the numbers yet of before that helped with that funding, and then with the fundraising on top of it, the inability to get quite at the level that we had.
I used to do 1,000 fundraisers for $2,000 socials, but you guys all know when you have kids, it gets tougher, so I'm in that boat. I don't have the time to do the socials and the.
Given the demographics of the community, do you think that we're gonna get an increase next year? Do you think it's going to go up or, or is it gonna go back to the 259 kids we had back in?
I hope it goes up to like 280 to 300 kids. that we used to be.
We still have that smaller bubble of the class that is in eighth grade next year, but the incoming classes are now back to more, like a steady rate of students coming in. So if we do start to, and we know at the elementary, we're starting to see some of the increase in enrollment. So if that continues into the middle school over the next couple of years, we may see that.
And I only think will help with the retention.
My recommendation, I agree with Jay that if, we supported investing a little bit more, 10,000 more, 15,000 more, so we don't have to increase the fees, or if it's minimal, just up to 225. That at least that can be the start of our work on, supporting some of this program, which is also an essential part of, many of our students' experiences as well, just like we support lots of other programs.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Advocate for that, but we hadn't brought it up, so I want to make sure that we had some time for some conversation around it too, because we're planning for the next year, and so we have to end up, communicating out, like heading into the next season too, which is why we wanted to bring it forward.
How did the fees that we have set for the middle school right now, how do they compare to the cost for participation in some of these athletics outside of the school, like in community leagues?
Community, and well, I mean, I can tell you from, my kids pay probably 175 to 185. That five is there, 7 and 9. So that's at that level, so I'm assuming it could go up as kids get older.
Right.
Sure, club ball and all that stuff is sure astronomical.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you guys already,
Yes.
You guys want kids.
Yeah.
So, I would say it's comparable. I think it's comparable.
And it looks like there are some opportunities at the middle school that just aren't found in the local
Yeah.
community.
And I think also the difference is these kids get to go somewhere every day after school, they have a place to go.
Yeah.
No, it's not just they go home and then they go somewhere for an hour and a half and they come back home like a couple of days a week. This is every day after school, Monday through Friday. So there's a safe place for them to be. They're doing something, they're held accountable. They're actually held, I think they're even held at a higher standard. I mean, I feel like, they're under a right soul as an athlete. So you have to be on your best. And we're trying to, this is another thing we're trying to reintroduce is some leadership classes. Which is one of my goals for next year for these kids, because we did a lot before COVID, and after COVID, we got away from it. And I think you can see the difference. So I really think that some leadership classes for these kids is needed, but that's a whole other subject, but I do think, having the program at the school is, it's really good for kids, something to do. They're not out gallivanting. You know what?
I mean, I'll make a motion that we increase the fee to 225 and, supplement the budget by $10,000-15,000 and move from there.
Can I ask, is it a good idea to have some sort of target for what the budget would be? With the understanding that if it goes over that, we would fund it obviously, but we want to have some sort of target
Oh, yeah,
in mind.
I mean, that's why I here, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what's going on and like usually I have a big cushion every year in case something like this happens. And I don't have that cushion, going into next year. So, it just caught up to that hit. So definitely we'll have a target. Okay, we have a plan of attack for next year. Try to keep that cushion so we don't fall behind.
So with respect to your motion, Mr. Chairman, should we be thinking about an exact amount, or should we be thinking about an amount that should be funded for the budget target that he's got?
I think it's probably both, right? We should probably come up with a fee and increase the budget. And then I think, if there's a delta, there's fundraising or further conversation here.
Keep in mind, this does not include transportation costs.
I mean, my suggestion is 225 and 15,000. That's not a suggestion. After that, we can see how we go through the year and see if we need to make any adjustments, but at least we can monitor at that point. That'll give them a little bit of protection.
So if
The
there's a
goal
change
would be
in-
to have
okay.
more buses. I mean, if we can have more buses, I do not, like, I really do not like that parents have to drive. For a multitude of reasons, and equity and et cetera. And I know that's where we are. I know it's not your fault. I know we have no drivers after COVID, but, you know, we think about what we want for students. We want to be able to provide that transportation and hopefully, you know, we have the one Mendon-Upton van.
So it'd be,
You know,
so it'd be a twin, maybe.
yeah, if they get its twin, you know,
15 total passengers.
15, it won't necessarily help with everything, but it might help with some internally, for some of our smaller groups. And
When will you know the enrollment numbers?
I won't know the enrollment till, the first day of school.
The first day of
Even,
school?
even after that, I get more.
Yeah, okay.
But right around,
You wouldn't
you know,
know,
right around the last week of August. I
you
have
wouldn't know
an
the
idea.
spring sports make up until next spring, right?
What's that?
You wouldn't know how many people are in the.
I
spring
won't,
sport
yeah, it goes
events.
season by season.
Right.
You know, that's why I gave that estimate of what I had this year. The estimate, you know, so I'm hoping, you know, like baseball, softball, volleyball. You wanna go back to the first slide? So, you know, I'm hoping these numbers, cross country and track and field increase. You know, you're not gonna see a huge increase in volleyball, soccer. Baseball, softball, you just can't, field that many people. Basketball's year to year, but they're not gonna have more than 50, probably more than 15 people. The biggest ones are, you know, cross country. Where, you know, I was up over 100. Then, you know, track and field was up over 50.
Okay.
So that changes everything. Budget wise. That's all depending on. I don't see that happening next year. I don't see 100 kids signing up next year, 50 kids, but I do see that there's a. As I recruit. Tell everybody do it, and then I get those kids that. You know, didn't want to compete or try it, and they see that they like it, and then their friends see that they like it. It's a snowball effect. They all start.
Well, the reason why I asked is if there's any way we can think of, or if there's any way we can adjust as we go forward to reduce the fees. That would be nice. Like, we all of a sudden get, as you're saying, 50 people in cross country in the fall. And that makes us estimate that we could be getting actually more revenue from fees we currently have.
Also remember this too, I still have to fundraise. So how much fundraising am I, you know, we're gonna do, which fundraising do I need? How much fundraising is realistic? So, and that's year after year where it's getting harder to fundraise.
Yeah.
So. That's the hard part. That's what we're doing since 2007. It's funny.
Well, I second your motion.
All right. I'll just restate the motion then. So we increase the fees from 200 to 25, and we increase our budget from 10,000 to 25,000 and readdress next year.
Thank you. So appreciate it.
Oh, hang on. Let's vote. You're not quite there yet. We can still get it out. Any other discussion? All right, we've got a second. On to a vote. All in favor? Aye. There you go. Now you got it.
Appreciate it.
There you go. All right. And I think we're done with new business. So Dr. Cohen, it's yours for superintendent and administrator comments.
Let's see what hasn't already been mentioned. So you mentioned graduation. And again, it was amazing. It was, you know, our second year in Hanover Theater. We love it. It was the perfectly timed. The musical performances were unbelievable. It's just some of the best that I had heard in a long time, and the student speeches were excellent. It was a really, really nice, and it wasn't pouring. I know we can't control that, but it was beautiful outside, which you could see everyone out taking pictures after, which it wasn't as easy to do the prior year. So thanks for all the hard work that goes into making that happen from everyone at Nipmuc as well. Civic symposium, so we were just talking about that before. We had, I thought this was an interesting fact that they had in their memo I wanted to share, was that we had 83 community members, which included family members, school committee members, select board members, and state representative Brian Murray in attendance. So we're really expanding the impact and their reach for authentic audiences with some of these showcases as well. We had outstanding projects, and we have some that are going to went today to the DESE Regional Symposium at the DCU Center. It was difficult to select, and a lot of us talked about the ones that were our favorites, and the ones that were able to go. We had Bridget's Bears by Bridget Klupa, and Together We Remember, Creating a Dementia-Friendly Community with Susie Barrows, Gavin Chase, and Gabe Sicarella. Is that what I say something? Okay. And amazing. And some were building off of some of the work that they actually had started to, do in earlier years too, as some of the projects. But you had asked, what were some of my favorites? Some of them, it ranged. I always like to, it's hard to get to all of them in the amount of time, especially get talking, with the students. But I loved going over and talking to some of our English language students who had created a project and a video to welcome new students in different languages to Nipmuc. I thought that was just like on point, something that we needed and that you can put right into practice. I talked to some students you always have something with the food, right? There's always some cafeteria food that we're working on, but what I loved about the group that I spoke with, they had actually gone and made changes to food offerings for allergy, gluten-free, and kind of communicating to students about, different options and offering things, and talking to Diane Mucci, who's food service director, and they made an impact right away. And some were bigger and larger, and, wanting to have spaces in the building, which might be like work on the building, and they found that that's a little bit more challenging, but they had some great ideas. I mean, I could go on and on about all of the students I was able to talk to, but it's pretty incredible stuff. And if you haven't had the opportunity in the past to go to, I definitely recommend in the future, if you're even just to pop in and able to do it. It's our students are amazing. The other category I wanted to highlight, building off of middle school athletics, we had some athletic highlights that came out. I'm going to look for our co-principals to help me out on any recent updates, but we have the athletes are signing up for fall sports, and that's kind of why it's fresh on our mind right now, which is hard to believe. We have boys lacrosse won its 4th consecutive CMAS championship in an exciting 9-8 overtime thriller with AMSA. They played Old Colony today at 4:30.
16-3 win.
16-3 win. I didn't get the update, so awesome. Girls lacrosse attempted to go back-to-back, but fell in the CMAS final against Tohoto. They played Belchertown Sunday at 4 and won 21-6. Softball clinched the DVC title in a walk-off with Hopedale and played Medway today.
And one,
And won
6-2.
6-2.
I'm sorry, I got
I was a little nervous. I was doing the highlights, but I didn't know what the outcomes were going to be. So I'm glad that we have positive outcomes. And, our boys and girls outdoor track team took home a number of medals recently at a Division 5 championship. And I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but we are doing a great job, and want to thank the athletic director and our coaches for all the work that they do. We also had a girls in sports day, and Nipmuc student athletes Carly Webster, Paige Anderson, and Kaya Montano were recently recognized at Gillette Stadium at the annual MIA Women and Girls in Sports Day. I think was Britt Kaler there. She's looking. So I think she brought them to that event, which was great. And related to fields and athletic fields, MUCP, they've come in and they've spoken to us before. They have a meeting coming up next Monday, June 10th. They've invited all of the youth sports groups to attend. That's going to be here at, I believe, 7 o'clock in the PDC. So in here next Monday, I just wanted to mention if anyone's interested in joining and attending that. I think it's really important. We're trying to kind of build the programming, vertically as well and talk about what field needs are and what we can do kind of moving forward with some of our work collectively as well. Any questions on that? Did I miss anything? Okay, great.
Oh, yeah, so all these might have moved on into the next round.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
looking forward to the next bulletin for all the games that they play.
It'll be great.
Softball plays in Lynn next.
It's always the way.
Yeah.
Always the way. And if anyone's interested, you can just go to the MIA website. Easy to find if you don't know which division we are. You go and then you search and you find Nipmuc, and that's how I was able to find in all the different brackets to see where we're at.
It's
to
sort of
get an
screwed up.
update.
They have the power rankings website now, and they have the brackets
Yeah.
website. So you gotta go to those particular.
Yeah,
places.
so I use MIA and you're able to get to that to see where they're playing next. All right, so next we have our student support services update. So if we could have Jen D'Angelo come on up, and I just need to properly introduce her as Dr. Jen D'Angelo because she just is official.
You look different now.
Yeah. Maureen said the other. Yeah, thank you. So this is just a quick overview of some of the things we've accomplished this year. Planning for 2024-25, so we're already switching modes and we're thinking about next year. Some of our work around thinking about next year has done transition meetings. So I know a couple of years ago, that was a hot topic for us. Meeting with our families and making sure that they had a solid understanding for students who were going from elementary to middle to high school, what that looked like, what the expectations were. So we've been doing some staff collaboration, welcoming families. They've been joint meetings with our elementary and middle school and then middle school and high school to make sure that there's a clear understanding of what that looks like when their students move up to the next building. We've also been creating some opportunities to address some unique needs with some of our students. So we know that every student looks different, every individual need is something that we need to address. So we've also been doing some tours, some meet and greets with the counselors at the high school, which has been helpful to kind of transition some of that work. So that is something that we spent a lot of time on this year, looking at really some of those unique individual needs instead of just holding the transition meetings. And then finally scheduling for next year, which is a lot of fun. So Maureen and I have been meeting with the building administrators, looking at capacity and how many students we have, what services are required, and our staffing needs. So it's always a fine balance of making sure we have enough staff, but not too many staff, based on the needs. And they've changed over the course of the last couple of years. So we have made a couple of adjustments. We've met with Pluff, we've met with Visco, we've had some preliminary conversations about Nipmuc, and then we'll follow up with so looking at our service fees and then looking at scheduling options on a case-by-case basis. And that also goes into some of our work around budgeting. Not that I want to talk about that tonight because it's a positive presentation, but we do take that into consideration when we're looking at that and how we meet the needs, and also are aware of those budgetary restrictions that we make. So the school year happens in our summer program. So over the summer, some of our students require year-round services where they're still addressing some of their goals identified in the IEP. We're running 2 programs this year. We're running a 6-week program going from June 24th to August 8th. That's a 4-day, half-day program. That program is really for students who have significant services in several areas. So academic needs, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech language. So it's a 4-hour program where all of those services are kind of meshed together. And there's also some opportunities for some fun community-based activities, and then some inclusive opportunities with our general ed peers. The 4-week program is heavily focused on academics. So that's where you're going to see a more heavy focus on ELA and math skills, looking at the remediation of some of those skills to keep our students on track to pick up where they left off when they move into their September schedules. And that is a little bit of a shorter period. So that's going to run July 8th through August 1st, same 4 hours, Monday through Thursday, just a shorter period of time. And then we do have a handful of students participating over the summer that only really receive related services. So that would be direct instruction in reading, occupational therapy, PT, or communication. And that is with our direct providers who will schedule individually for those students who may require those services.
I'll stop for a second just before any questions about scheduling and PS1.
Good.
Density improvement plans, you've heard me talk a little bit about this over the last year. This is a big statewide initiative that we're all excited to do in September. So they're in the new IEP form. Sam, can you click that or? So this is the new form. Could you make it a little larger for those eyes? Thank you. So this is the new form that we've been training on for the past year. We've been fortunate to work with Alan Bloom, who's an expert in the state, who's been working with us around some fundamental elements of IEP writing. So looking at how we write measurable data-driven goals. That's a big shift. So the biggest thing you'll see shifting to this new IEP is looking at data-driven goals in those skill-based areas. So he's been working with us on some foundational skills around developing those goals, measuring progress, monitoring, and then this is the form. So the last couple of meetings with him was focused on kind of taking all that information that we've been learning and putting it into this new form. We are also. That's good for that, Sam. Thanks. Thanks again. So then the September 2024 is the rollout. So we're very excited. Building support has been provided by the team chairs at the building level. We're in the process of finalizing a kind of summary checklist to help our teachers kind of transition through that, especially the first couple months. And then we're looking at an overview to the principals and assistant principals, which they didn't know about, but they do now, and I'm sure they're very excited. And we'll talk a little bit about that with them before it rolls out in September. The final thing that we talked about last year a little bit, just to kind of keep you in the loop, is we had talked about exploring Power School as our option for special education documents, IEPs, 504s. We did do a preliminary group with a variety of stakeholders last spring, where we were able to meet with Power School, talk about what that would look like. There was some hesitation, there were some concerns from some of our providers about what it would look like. So, and I did, Liz Black has also been instrumental in those conversations. So we did put that on hold for now. We're focusing on the new IEP process and the new form, and then we'll revisit that sometime around January to see if it's something that would be beneficial for us moving forward. Thanks. So Best Buddies update, as you know, 2 years ago, we launched Best Buddies at the middle school and the high school. Our chapters have been wildly successful over the last 2 years. This is just a couple of things to highlight. Our Best Buddies participated in the Friendship Walk at Fuller Park. Together this year, we did a fundraiser, so we raised about $3,200. The Nipmuc chapter hosted a craft table where they did paintings of friendship rocks, and then MURC was named our top contributor at the Fuller Walk, so that was awesome. We have two outstanding advisors, Mara Beth and Megan. Caitlin Aslam was also a co-advisor at the middle school, but she's moved on to another position, but she was instrumental in that work as well. And then I have some fun pictures of the Friendship Walk. Here's a couple of group shots. There's the Friendship Rock table on the bottom right-hand side. And then our other slide is just highlighting some of our opportunities in the community. So relationships matter. That's a big piece of why we do this work, and friendships and creating opportunities for social interactions complement nicely with our academics and our related services that we're doing throughout the day. So this is just a little bit of a highlight of some of the things that are happening. We have our lunches. So the top left is George's. So the high school programs go out once a month together, and they go into different local communities for lunch. So they practice their social skills and ordering, and the nuances of George's is a takeout, cash only. So that was a little bit of a new thing. A couple months ago, we did Papagino's. That was a little bit more regulated and controlled. But George's was a challenge on many levels, but they all did a great job. So that's what those are. And then there's some opportunities throughout the day through Best Buddies where we do some inclusive opportunities around lunch and social activities. The middle bottom is the Rockstar Invitational. If you remember last year, we launched the Rockstar Invitational with Shining Rock. And that's a collaborative for golfers of all ability levels. We helped sponsor it, but it is open to everyone. And we did extend out to some of our neighboring communities as well. So our golf pros match up with our students. They pair off. There's a whole, shindig afterwards, and they have a great time. Here's just a list of some of our community partners. I know this is always something that we're looking to expand upon. I know we often see articles in the local newspapers about people starting bake shops and candy shops.
Jay won't let me do those things, but we do look for community partners to help us create some of those authentic opportunities. We also did a couple of outreaches this year, so I did write up a community connections program letter. And we sent it out to about 15 or 20 organizations in our community, small businesses, larger businesses. So I'm trying to do that a couple of times a year to see if we can gain some additional partners for our students to work within. We also, and I don't have it up here, but we also had one student also participate with CBS in a trainer program. That was the first for us. So that he's doing a train the trainer kind of program in-house with CBS, and then that'll lead into hopefully paid employment later on. So if you know anyone who wants to partner with us, I can send you out the community letter that gives all the information there. We were also able to partner with the Mass Coalition of Police recently. They did a donation of Chromebooks to our students at the high school. There was officers representing a lot of our local agencies that came over. They did a donation of Chromebooks. They brought cute little pins for the kids around creating positive relationships with your local law enforcement. They spent a whole lot of time just kind of socializing and getting familiar with the students. So we can't thank them enough for their donation and the time that they took to come over and engage with our students that afternoon. Counselor Collaborators, so let me stop there. So any questions about community outings or our partnerships or anything extracurricular?
When you take the students out to lunch,
Yeah.
is that on a school bus or is that the vans or how?
Yeah,
is
so
that?
it depends. So depending on the number of students, so the capacity of the van is obviously 15. Sometimes we will send the van with certain kids and then some of the staff members have to follow along. So for this one, there was quite a few. So we did have staff members take their own vehicles, meet them there, and then we had staff members on the van with the students. Sometimes at the beginning of the year and over the winter, because of just the logistics of all of it, we do use a larger van for some of those bigger ones. So we took students to Target around Christmas time, where they did some shopping. Just the number of people that we had, because we also had some internships from NITMA who came out with us, who helped the kids do their Target shopping. There was just too many. So we did have a huge van for that, and Duke, who does our drives, is very gracious and loves to have us on the big bus. So he was sad when we got the little one, but it has helped us out in the long run. So as much as we love Duke, we also love the small van. So. Counselor collaboration is our last piece that we're going to talk about. So for those of you who don't remember, we've been working with the counselors collectively across the district. This started, I think last year was the first year. So this was a way just for us to kind of get the counselors together on the same page. They've been working a little bit in isolation because they do technically report to the building principals. But we thought it would be a nice way to kind of get together, and it started as counselor collaboration, meaning come with your ideas, come with your problems, let's solve them together. It turned into a little bit more of a structured progressive training and kind of rollout. So all willing participants, I don't force anyone to come hang out with me, but they all do show up and we've gotten a lot accomplished, so that's great. So the counselor collaboration this year, we took the shape assessment. So I talked a little bit about this last year. This is like a self-assessment of the district to see kind of where we are. Most of our counselors took it. We also asked administrators to take it. And then we took all the information and through this system, and it created like a formalized report. So that's what that mental health quality assessment report was. It generated 5 areas that we needed to kind of work on based on the information that we provided. So it's not a formal assessment with standards based. It was really what we put in is what we got out, which was really nice because it's really about the people who work in the building and the districts and kind of know what's going on with our students and knows what resources we have available and what they would like to have available because they're all very well versed in their field. So these are the goals. So we looked at 5 goal areas. So we've been working with John Crocker too as our consultant. He is a statewide expert. He leads a lot of work around the Rennie Center and statewide initiatives around social emotional learning and mental health and behavioral health initiatives. So he's been contracting with us this year as well to kind of help move us through that. Mental health is not my background or area of expertise. It's just kind of something that I've engaged in over the years. So he is the one that really comes in with that level of expertise and a bigger lens and a broader lens because he does the work both, at the state level and nationally. So he's been able to kind of provide that different lens for us than just looking at the local level, which has been really nice.
Is that broadly across the whole student population?
Yeah. Yep. So when we look at it, we're looking at it from a standpoint of all students.
My lens is like special ed, so it comes in on the, like the tier 3, specially designed at the end. What we're trying to do in this method is looking at proactive things that we can put in place for all students to minimize where we are at the end. So that's been a lot of our work, and it's been great kind of having them all together because they all come in with different backgrounds and experience. So it's been a nice way to kind of collaborate. So after looking at the shaped assessment and the information that it provided to us, these were the 5 areas that we identified as looking for goals. We had some draft goals, but I'm not going to share those yet because they are draft. But I did pull out the main ideas around each drafted goal, and then in the fall, I'll update you on what those goals are, and then the actionable steps that we're going to take to make those goals happen. So right here, we look at communication structures and fidelity of use, and looking at how we create messaging and consistent messaging, and how we're using that information at the building level to drive our decisions. Resource mapping is looking at what we currently have available to support this work, and what are the areas that we have gaps in resources that we need to look at partnerships or bringing in some of those local resources. Tier 1 support and services, so that's what I just mentioned to you, Sean, the proactive piece of looking at screeners. So are we doing screeners across the board for mental health and depression? Are we looking at things and then taking that information and then using that to build on tier 2? So if we have a group of students who are looking at high anxiety during certain situations, then we're looking at how do we put tier 2 or small groups in place to help support that work. So we started the base, we started tier 1 looking at general supports and services for all students. And then we look at effective referral systems. So how do we make those supports and services happen, right? So what is the referral system? What are we looking at for data points? And then how do we collectively put that together so it systematically flows through so students are getting what they need at varying levels. And then the final one is everyone on board. That's the fun one. So making it a conversation for everyone. So we sometimes have this ideology that if you need therapeutic supports or you need counseling, that's a group of people down the hall in the offices. So this everyone on board is how do we have everyone embrace that work, and how does it become part of what we do every day in the classroom to support our students on varying levels? Any questions about those?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
With the work that's going to be coming down the line with the screening of students and identifying students with concerns, how are you feeling in terms of your current staffing to support the needs that you'll be finding for the students? And how does that play out for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3?
Yeah, so right now that work it happens sporadically. Mostly I'm going to say at the high school, as far as consistent screeners and then using that information to drive decisions. A little bit at the middle school, but I would say primarily we're probably doing that. Every school has a data team that's looking at academic, behavioral, and emotional, but I think from this standpoint, I'm looking at purely like the social emotional piece. Staffing wise, we started there. So when we started this work, we looked at what the state standards were for counseling caseloads. We looked at the numbers. We've been able to add a couple, as you know, through our therapeutic bright programs and our support program at the elementary school last year. So we have increased over the last couple of years since I've been on board by 3. Which is a lot. That's typically not what UC districts do. So we've been fortunate in that sense that we've been able to add that. I think that's a bigger piece of the conversation once we set the foundational piece of what it looks like, what the screeners are, who's involved in that process, what the tier 1 looks like. Anytime we can put things on everyone to support tier 1, we then don't necessarily see a huge bump in the need for tier 2 and tier 3, which then means we don't need additional staff to provide that. So our goal is always looking at how do we proactively support all students to make sure that we're doing what we need to do early on instead of waiting for that later on. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did.
Okay.
You did.
So right now I'm going to say no on the staffing, but I do think it's something that we keep an eye on as we roll things out.
Right. Well, I also know we've talked about wanting to add some positions, particularly within the high school, to support some of the higher need students, and we haven't been able to do that.
Right.
So that's an ongoing conversation that I hope we're having.
We are.
Well, and not just you, but like us on the committee as we look towards budgets.
Yes.
For the following year, and I think that the SHINE program is a great way to gather the kind of data that helps to have those conversations with the community.
Yep.
Because it is such a data-driven program, and I've used a lot of the screening tools, and it's really helpful in terms of identifying need, tracking progress, which fits into the data analysis models that we've been talking about here.
Yes, and I think too, for us, it's really just trying to get the information, so that it's understandable for all, because some of this is not familiar to everyone. So I think for our work, it's really about creating that baseline of understanding internally, like what we have, where we need to go, and then how do we message it out? And I think that's why when I say I didn't share the goals, because those are a work in progress with us. And one piece that we were missing from some of our screeners and some of our information was that student voice. So that was something we were able to do at the end, and I'm gonna talk a little bit, if you can go one more. So when we talk about next year looking ahead, it's incorporating that student voice. And I did have a senior Stephanos who worked with me over the last 3 weeks to collect some surveys. So one of the things that he did was he implemented some surveys, student surveys, to about 15 to 20 students per grade level across the high school, and then compiled all that information into spreadsheets for me. So that was the student voice that we didn't have when we met with John Crocker to kind of go over and develop the goals that he said would really be an integral part of the work that we're doing. So in the fall, when that comes around, we're gonna be looking at the results of that, and then incorporating it in kind of what we already have with our draft goals to then put formal goals in place with actionable steps that we'll be able to take to move towards where we want to be. And I think that's when you're going to see some of those other things kind of come to light, and people don't know until they know. And if we don't have the information to show people in hard facts what we're looking at, it's sometimes too abstract for people to understand. So I'm hoping all this will lend to that conversation. And then that's then finalizing the goals with the action steps. Any other questions about the counselor collaboration piece? And then current therapeutic services, so just to kind of reiterate where we are, so we have been able to add, some significant supports over the last 2 or 3 years. So we do have bright programs at both the high school and the middle school. That's where we have a counselor and an academic interventionist working on students who are reentering or who have significant concerns. And there's some therapeutic check-ins that are allowed to happen. So that's already in existence. We did have, we did add staffing when we launched those programs. This year, we struggled to maintain the staffing. So we had some turnover in both middle school and high school programming. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. We've kind of piecemealed it together. I'm hoping next year that we can go in strong and have a strong team that's there for the duration of the year so that we can start to build. This year, every year, it seems like since the program has started, we've kind of been reinventing ourselves with new staff. And it's hard to kind of build upon when you're always getting people up to speed. So that's the one thing that I would say about that. This year, we were also able to launch the elementary hybrid model for therapeutic supports. That has been very successful at Clough. We have a social worker and a special education teacher working with students to proactively put therapeutic supports in place. So that this is not a program as far as like coming out of your classroom. All the students are in their grade level classroom, whether they're second grader, third grader, fourth grader. And then we use this program to provide therapeutic supports both outside of the classroom through groups and through small group instruction, and then inside the classroom where our staff members are pushing in. So I always give this example, it's not a great one, but morning meetings around the math corner. Not that math is a trigger for anyone, but sometimes it can be. We were seeing some dysregulation. So what we did is we sent the staff members into the class to help the students understand how they were feeling and put some supports in place so that they were able to go through math corner in the morning. And then that became a morning check-in. Student would independently go to math morning and then be able to check in later in the day. So it's really about building skills. When we talk about the capacity of the student being able to stay in the general ed classroom, it's really about working with them and building the skills that they need to maintain themselves in the classroom where they're going to get the biggest access to curriculum and quality instruction. And so next year, we're hoping to replicate this elementary model at the middle school model as well. So, any questions?
Regarding the staffing turnover challenges, is
Yeah.
there anything that do we do the exit interviews with staff that leave? Is there any commonalities between the turnover, or is it just a series of?
No,
Is there something? Is there anything about the program that's not quite with aligning with the staff that you're hiring? Their expectations. Is it just
No, I think there's a couple of things that play into it. One, I think that it's a position that typically gets cut, right? So there's this fear factor, because if there is budget cuts, or if there are reduction in staff or whatnot, those programs are typically the ones that go first, right? Because we can't lose an English teacher, so it's a poor area. So typically, so I think sometimes, I know often when we interview, they'll say, is this a grant funded position, right? Because they don't want to leave where they are, where they may have some longevity, and come out into a different kind of arena, right? Because the program was a little different than being a counselor in a building. So I think there's a little bit of hesitation with that. I think our posting last year came out late just because of, turnover. So the posting came out late. I don't know if you necessarily always get the best candidates when you're looking in September. People are committed, right? They're educators, they're there to help kids and love kids. So no one wants to leave kids high and dry, or if they've already committed, or if their work has already begun. So it's really one of those positions that people don't tend to leave once they start, because it's about connections, right? So I think our late post last year kind of played a little bit into who was available come September and October when we were hiring too. But I don't think from a program standpoint, we do a reflection every year. So both the Bright models, we contract with them for support. So we're part of their network. And at the end of every year, we do a self-evaluation with the staff members from Brookline Health, who goes through it with us. And we talk about the elements of the program, what's working, what's not, where we can expand, where we need to focus our efforts next year. So we've done that the last couple of years too. There hasn't been any feedback about the program itself. I think it's maybe some personal situations or just where people are in their lives.
Question.
The IEP, the new IEP, is that already in use or is that coming?
September.
September.
Yeah, there's a handful. I think there's 11 districts, collaboratives, and charter schools who piloted it. They started 2 years ago with this whole thing. So they started the first version. They provided initial feedback, but the overall district state will be moving September 2020. Yeah. And we eventually will do a parent training on that too. Right now, we're just trying to get the staff up and running. That's where we are. But we are looking, there's a couple of different organizations that are doing parent trainings. I've been sharing those out a little bit. We like to do our own because it just tailors to the process that we do here and the connections that we make with families. So that's something that we'll be looking at in the fall anyways, to look at a parent training around, what is the new IEP? How is it different? How do I participate in the meetings? Much of it will stay the same. A lot of it is just the conversation and the facilitation of what it looks like. So we're not going to get too bogged down with families about the formatting, because that's really not what's important. What's important is how does it impact my student and how can I be an active participant in what that looks like.
I'm happy to see that you put some time and energy into the transition. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Last year, I think you did a community survey. Did you do one this year?
Not yet. Did I do it last year?
I thought so.
I can do that. No, I will. Yeah, I can do that. So we are also in our tiered focus monitoring next year. So for those of you that missed it the first time, it's a lot of fun. So the state comes in and does a full review of all of our documents and processes. So that is something that they will do their site visit next year, which means we do all of our pre-work now. So that's something that we do. So just kind of keep it on your radar. You don't need to know anything yet. But before they come out, they'll send out parent surveys, they'll engage with the school committee. So that's coming up next year too. They'll do their own survey, but I'll do one. I'll get one at the end of the school year. Yeah. And I have a staff one coming out too. Just to see where we need to improve. I was talking to a couple of my director friends the other day, and they give surveys for administrative feedback. So I will be engaging in that process this year as well to see where we can expand, where I can better, improve my practices, and then see where we can do some different things to build them up.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you,
Thanks, I
Jen.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming out. All right, let's see. I guess next we've got subcommittee updates. Vicky, on the negotiations.
Yeah, so first, actually, I just wanted to, extend my thanks to everyone who contributed their time and energy to the negotiations process. You have in your pocket the memorandum of agreement with MRDA. It's been ratified and signed by MRDA leadership and for review and for a vote tonight to approve by the school committee. So, once it's approved, the collective bargaining agreement will be typed up over the summer and then brought forward to the school committee in August.
I move to approve the memorandum of agreement as written.
Any discussion, questions? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Extension.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
And then-
501.
On a quick other note, so there's the remaining tentative agreements with other associations and units, and those will be brought to the next meeting on June 17th.
That's the goal. All right. If not, we'll meet on the 4th of July.
Matter of typing.
Excellent. All right. I don't have any other matters that the committee didn't anticipate since the posting. So we've got one meeting left for the year, and we're gonna get the final summary and district goals. We will reorganize ourselves, even though we'll be the same selves. Same 6 people anyways, and then wrap up, I guess, the collective bargain. So with that, we're going to move to executive session. So I'll go ahead and read the piece here. Exception number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair declares. We're also have exception number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. I believe we need to do a roll call vote to executive session.
Jim Forgy, aye.
Sean Nicholson, aye.
Eric Brown, aye.
Carrie Lawrence, I.
Vicki Levinson, aye.
Hagan, aye.
All right, and we are adjourned.